They thought they were throwing stones in your path, but they forgot one simple truth. Stones sharpen the blade. Every dagger they plunged into your back became the very weapon you now wield. The universe doesn't let imbalances last forever. Every cruel whisper, every betrayal, every attempt to bury you, it all circles back. Those who sought to watch you fall will one day choke on the dust of your rising. The irony, the more they tried to break you, the more they ensured their own downfall. Life has a way of keeping the scales even. Those who build their success on deception will eventually drown in their own lies. Those who sabotage others dig their own graves without realizing it. The ones who tried to make you invisible are now forced to watch as your presence overshadows everything they ever hoped to be. It must haunt them, knowing that no matter how much damage they tried to inflict, you refused to shatter. Instead, you adapted, you evolved, and now you dominate. The truth is, some people can't handle your existence. They see something in you they don't have, a fire that refuses to be extinguished. It burns in a way that terrifies them because it forces them to see their own mediocrity. They hope to dim your light, but in their desperation, all they did was fuel your flame. They spent so much time trying to sabotage your path that they didn't realize they were the ones destined for failure. That's the real horror for them. Not just that you survived, but that you thrived despite their every attempt to see you fail. You're not just watching a video, you're stepping into your power. What was done to you wasn't just cruelty, it was a calculated attempt to erase you. But here's the twist. They failed. And now, the very story they tried to bury is the one that will make you unforgettable. Your resilience, your pain, your rise, it's all fuel for something greater. But before we dive into the truth that will shake your enemies to their core, take a second to do 3 things. Hit that like button, subscribe to join the movement of the unstoppable, and comment, "I am here," so they know you refuse to be erased. The ones who tried to break you, they'll be the first to recognize your name. Now, let's get into it, because your story is about to change everything. Number 1, stop romanticizing pain, the brutal truth about being chosen. They envy the glow, but they don't understand the fire that forged it. Being chosen isn't a privilege, it's a paradox. On the surface, it looks like destiny's golden hand-picked favor, a path lined with admiration, success, and recognition. But those who assume that have never walked this road, the reality, it's brutal, it's isolating, it's a battlefield where every step forward feels like dragging the weight of 1,000 betrayals behind you. They see the final act, but are blind to the script written in blood, sweat, and silent suffering. They admire your resilience, but have no idea what it cost you. They don't see the nights you spent suffocating in your own doubts, the moments when your trust shattered like glass, or the times you questioned if survival was even worth it. People romanticize strength as if it's something gifted, but real strength is earned in the trenches, built from every scar you never asked for. And here's the cruelest part. Most will never understand you. Even those who claim to care won't truly grasp why life seems to test you in ways it doesn't test others. They call you unlucky, cursed, a magnet for chaos. But deep down, you know the truth. You were never meant to blend in. You don't move on the same wavelength as everyone else. While others coast through predictable patterns, your life has been a storm of relentless trials, so precise, so merciless, that it almost feels deliberate. And maybe it is, because the ones who carry something extraordinary are always the ones who suffer first. The weight of greatness is never handed out freely. It's fought for, endured, and earned through a war only the chosen can withstand. And here's where most people fail. They mistake the suffering for a sign to stop. They assume the pain means they aren't meant to go further. But that's the trick. That's the test. The ones who make it through aren't the ones who had it easy. They're the ones who refused to break, even when breaking was the only logical outcome. People love to celebrate success stories, but they rarely talk about the war it takes to get there. They'll only see the final masterpiece, never the countless times you had to rebuild yourself from rubble. But make no mistake, this isn't where your story ends. This struggle? It's the fire shaping you into something unstoppable. If you can survive this, if you can push through when everything is telling you to fall, you will emerge into something they will never be able to ignore. Because here's the secret they don't want you to know. The ones who suffer the most in silence are the ones who rise the loudest. And when you do, those who once doubted you won't just watch. They'll have no choice but to remember your name. So keep going. Your story is not just survival, it's a prophecy in motion. Number 2, escape the unseen war. How to survive attacks. No one else can see. They never needed chains to keep you trapped. No whips, no bruises, no visible wounds, because this war was never fought on the surface. It was waged in the shadows, in the deepest corners of your mind, where no one else could see. And that's what made it so insidious. The battlefield wasn't outside of you, it was inside. Every cruel word, every calculated betrayal, every seed of doubt they planted, these weren't random attacks. They were weapons, sharpened and precise, designed to leave you second-guessing your own reality. This was never just about hurting you. It was about owning you, about twisting your perception so thoroughly that you wouldn't even recognize yourself anymore. They wanted to hollow you out, to make you question your worth, to leave you standing in a crowd yet feeling utterly alone. And the worst part, they almost succeeded. The genius of their cruelty was its invisibility. You went about your days with a smile, spoke as if nothing was wrong, performed like everything was fine, all while carrying the crushing weight of a war that no one else knew existed. People looked at you and called you strong, but they had no idea that strength wasn't a choice. It was survival. It was all you had left. And that's what makes this sickness beyond belief. It wasn't just about harming you. It was about rewriting you. They wanted to strip you of your confidence, of your identity, of the fire that made you different. They wanted to turn you into something small, something controllable. Because the truth is, people fear what they cannot control, and they feared you. But here's where their strategy failed. You didn't break. Even when you doubted yourself, even when you replayed their words in your mind, even when the loneliness became unbearable, you held on. And now, here you are, still standing. They thought they had buried you, but they forgot one thing. A chosen one never stays buried. They rise, and when they do, the whole world watches. Let them fear what they created. Let them witness what happens when someone like you survives the war they never thought you'd escape. Because the fact that you're still here is the loudest declaration of victory they will ever hear. Number 3, crush the envy that seeks to destroy you, the hidden disease behind betrayal. Envy is a disease of the weak, a silent sickness that festers behind forced smiles, polite words, and fake support. It's a poison disguised as friendship, concern, or even admiration. But you've seen it for what it truly is, hatred wrapped in a handshake. The truth is, what was done to you wasn't random. The betrayal, the manipulation, the cruelty, it all had a single root: envy. They saw something in you that unsettled them, something they could never possess. Not your possessions, not your looks, but something deeper, your spirit, your resilience, your fire. They sensed your potential long before you did, and it terrified them, because if you succeeded, it would remind them of everything they failed to become. And so, they did what weak people always do. They tried to destroy what they couldn't control. Their words were weapons, their actions calculated. They whispered doubts into your mind, told you that you were reaching too high, that your dreams were ridiculous. They painted you as delusional, not because you were wrong, but because your ambition made them uncomfortable. For a while, maybe they won. Maybe you shrank yourself, dimmed your light, made yourself smaller just to fit into their fragile world. Maybe you second-guessed your own gifts because their voices grew louder than your own. But here's the thing about envy. It doesn't stop at containment. It needs destruction. Even after you tried to make them comfortable, it wasn't enough. They needed to see you fall. But they underestimated the power of the chosen, because envy is a self-inflicted curse. It poisons the one who carries it, eats them from the inside out. While they obsessed over your downfall, they didn't realize they were setting fire to themselves. And now, they're forced to watch as you rise, untouchable, undeniable. The real reason they hated you. You were never their competition. You were their proof that greatness was possible, and that truth will haunt them forever. Number 4, prove the universe wrong. Why you're suffering isn't just a test. They don't test the weak. The ones who break easily never get pushed to the limit. But you were thrown into the fire over and over again, not because you were cursed, but because you were chosen. This isn't just suffering. It's a brutal, calculated process designed to forge you into something indestructible. The universe doesn't hand power to those who aren't ready for it. It strips away everything, your comfort, your illusions, your safety, until only the rawest, most unbreakable version of you remains. Make no mistake, this isn't punishment. This is preparation. When the world tried to grind you into nothing, when betrayal, loss, and agony clawed at your soul, you weren't being destroyed. You were being rebuilt. Because extraordinary roles demand extraordinary strength, and that kind of strength isn't given. It's earned. Most people would collapse under what you've endured. Many already have. They sink into the pain, trapped in a cycle of self-destruction, unable to see that the fire was never meant to consume them. It was meant to shape them. But if you're still here, still standing, still breathing despite everything they threw at you, then you've already proven something they never expected. You cannot be broken. That's what they fear most. Not just that you survived, but that every attempt to bury you only made you stronger. The ones who set the traps, who laughed at your suffering, who thought they'd won, they have no idea that they were just tools in your transformation. They thought they were writing your downfall, but they were only chiseling away at the weaker parts of you, leaving behind someone unstoppable. And here's the irony. The pain you went through wasn't for nothing. The suffering was the price for something greater. The universe doesn't waste strength on those who won't use it. Every battle, every scar, every silent war you fought alone, it was a test to see if you were ready. Ready to step into a role only a few will ever understand. Not everyone makes it through. Some stay buried in the ashes. But if you're still standing, still pushing forward, then you already know the truth. When the moment comes, when the world finally sees what you were shaped for, you'll understand exactly why the fire was necessary, and so will they. Number 5, reject the lies. How they gaslight your greatness to keep you small. They never wanted you to see yourself for what you truly are, a force beyond their control. That's why they started early, planting seeds of doubt before you could even understand your own potential. Gaslighting your greatness wasn't an accident. It was a strategy, a slow, calculated war on your confidence. It came from those you trusted the most: family, teachers, so-called friends. They disguised their sabotage as wisdom, telling you to be humble, to stay realistic, to not aim too high. But let's be real, this was never about protecting you. It was about keeping you manageable. Your potential unnerved them. They saw in you what they never had, and instead of nurturing it, they tried to extinguish it. Not because you weren't capable, but because your very existence was a reminder of what they could never be. And it didn't stop there. Society itself is built to reward obedience and punish outliers. The moment you step outside the lines, the labels start: arrogant, delusional, too much. They don't question mediocrity. They don't attack the ordinary. But the second you show signs of being something greater, the system moves fast to put you back in your place. The most dangerous part? It works. Over time, you start shrinking yourself. You second-guess your abilities. You silence your own voice. Not because you've lost faith, but because you've been conditioned to believe that believing in yourself is wrong. You start doubting what was once undeniable. That fire inside you. They try to smother it with their words, their dismissals, their mockery. But here's what they never expected. You never lost it. The world doesn't gaslight what isn't a threat. They wouldn't work this hard to make you doubt yourself if they weren't afraid of what you could become. And that's the truth they'll never admit. The moment you stop playing small, the moment you reject their manipulations, you become unstoppable. The power they tried to suppress will come back stronger than ever, and they'll have no choice but to watch as you rise beyond their reach. The only question now is, how much longer will you let them dictate your greatness? Number 6. Reclaim your humanity, the silent war to strip you of your worth. They didn't just want to hurt you, they wanted to unmake you. This wasn't just cruelty, it was something far more sinister. Their goal was never just to see you suffer. No, they wanted to strip you of everything that made you, you. They weren't satisfied with breaking your heart. They wanted to hollow out your soul, to turn you into a shadow of yourself, barely recognizable even to your own reflection. This is what makes it a sickness beyond belief. True cruelty doesn't stop at inflicting harm. It seeks to erase. They didn't just attack your confidence or your happiness. They came for your identity. They wanted you to forget your worth, to disconnect from your own power, to question if you even deserve to exist at all. They made your pain invisible to the world. They acted like your suffering was insignificant. They spoke over you, dismissed you, and tried to reduce your existence to nothing more than a background noise. And for a while, maybe it worked. Maybe you started to see yourself the way they wanted you to. Maybe you felt small, powerless, unworthy. That's how this kind of warfare operates. Not with visible scars, but with quiet destruction, planting seeds of doubt until you no longer trust your own voice. They wanted you weak, lost, broken beyond repair. But here's the truth they never accounted for. Dehumanization only works if you accept it. And you never truly did. They underestimated you. They thought that by stripping you of love, comfort and hope, they could erase you. But they didn't understand that some souls are built to endure. Some fires only burn hotter when people try to extinguish them. Rising from this kind of darkness isn't easy. It doesn't happen overnight, but every single step you take back toward yourself is a rebellion against their sickness. Every moment you reclaim your voice, your confidence, your power, you prove them wrong. They tried to erase you. They failed. You're still here, and that alone is the kind of victory they will never recover from. Number 7, make them fear your comeback. Why your resilience shakes your enemies. They expected you to break. In fact, they counted on it. Every cruel word, every betrayal, every calculated attempt to rip you apart was done with one goal in mind: to see you shattered beyond repair. They convinced themselves that no one could endure that much pain and still rise. And for a moment, maybe they were right. Maybe you stumbled. Maybe you even collapsed under the sheer weight of it all. But here's what they never saw coming. You didn't stay down. This is what haunts them. It's not just that you survived. It's that you refused to be reduced to their expectations. They wanted to see you weak because your strength is a direct insult to their existence. People who operate from a place of malice don't understand resilience because they've never built anything themselves. They tear down because they can't create. They manipulate because they have no real power. And when they see someone like you, someone who withstands every blow and refuses to break, it shakes them to their core. They will tell themselves lies to make sense of your rise. You must have had help. You got lucky. The world is unfair. Anything to avoid admitting the truth that gnaws at their insides. They never had the power they thought they did. Every time you get back up, you remind them of their own weakness. Every time you thrive, you force them to confront the fact that their hatred, their cruelty, their twisted need for control was never enough to stop you. And that is their worst nightmare. Because people like them need to believe that destruction is permanent. They need to believe that if they push hard enough, if they scheme well enough, they can erase the ones who threaten their fragile sense of superiority. But you proved them wrong. You weren't erased. You weren't broken. You were reforged. And now, the same people who once mocked your pain are left scrambling, trying to make sense of why their tactics didn't work. They underestimated you. They thought they were writing your downfall, but all they did was set the scene for your most legendary comeback. And the best part? They have no choice but to watch. Number 8. Stop being their mirror. How to handle the hatred. That your presence creates you weren't born just to exist. You were born to reflect. Being chosen isn't just about your strength or resilience. It's about the way you expose everything around you without even trying. You are a mirror, whether you want to be or not. And that terrifies people. Most people live in carefully constructed illusions, avoiding the uncomfortable truths about who they really are. They tell themselves they're doing enough, that their fears are justified, that their failures are just bad luck. Then you walk in, and suddenly, without saying a word, you shatter the illusion. Your ambition makes them question their laziness. Your courage highlights their fears. Your ability to rise from destruction forces them to see how easily they surrendered. You don't attack them, yet they feel attacked. You don't criticize them, yet they feel judged. Because your existence alone is enough to expose what they are not. That's why they resent you. That's why they misjudge you. It has nothing to do with you personally. It's about what you represent. You force them to see the version of themselves they could have been. And for those unwilling to face that reflection, the easiest way to cope is to project their insecurities onto you. They'll call you arrogant, lucky, or even delusional. Because if they admit that your success was built on endurance rather than privilege, they have to face the truth. They never even tried. But here's where it gets difficult. Being a mirror is lonely. The more you reflect, the more people will push you away. They'll prefer the comfort of their lies over the discomfort of your truth. You may find yourself standing alone, misunderstood, and even hated. But here's what they don't realize. Mirrors don't exist for the weak. They exist for those ready to change. For every person who resents you, another is watching in silence, inspired. Your reflection forces them to wake up, to fight, to grow. And that is where your true power lies. So let them be uncomfortable. Let them turn away. The chosen don't dim their light to make others feel safe. You weren't made to be ignored. You were made to reveal the truth. Number 9. See the truth, but don't let it isolate you. The cost of awareness. The truth is a double-edged sword. Once you see it, you can never unsee it. And that realization comes with a heavy price. The deeper your suffering, the sharper your vision becomes. Pain strips away the illusions, exposing the world for what it really is. Layers upon layers of deception, manipulation, and control. You begin to recognize the quiet betrayals disguised as loyalty, the fear hiding behind authority, and the selfishness wrapped in the illusion of kindness. Most people live in denial because the truth is too unsettling, too uncomfortable. But you were never given that luxury. The loneliness of seeing reality for what it is can feel suffocating. You watch as people move through life, blissfully unaware of the forces shaping their thoughts, their actions, their entire existence. They cling to the false comfort of ignorance, resisting anything that threatens their carefully crafted delusions. And when you try to warn them, to open their eyes, they dismiss you as paranoid, cynical, or even delusional. They reject you, not because you're wrong, but because they aren't ready to face the weight of the truth. So you walk alone, not because you want to, but because few have the strength to walk beside you. You carry the burden of knowing, of seeing through the facade, while others remain blind. The isolation can feel endless, like a punishment for simply understanding too much. But here's the truth they won't tell you. The loneliness is proof of your strength. You were chosen to see what others refuse to acknowledge. You were given this vision because you have the resilience to endure it. And though it may feel like a curse, it's actually your greatest weapon. Because in a world built on lies, the one who sees clearly becomes unstoppable. While they continue to live in the fog, you move with precision. You recognize the traps before they're set, the betrayals before they happen. You are 10 steps ahead, always watching, always aware. And here's the most dangerous part for them. You are not just a witness to the truth. You are a force that cannot be deceived. The world fears those who cannot be controlled. And you are the nightmare they never saw coming. Let them call you whatever they want. Their insults are nothing but proof of their blindness. Because when the time comes, it won't be you left in the dark. It will be them. Number 10. Drop the burden they forced on you. Why strength feels like a curse. They envy your strength, but they don't know the weight of it. They see resilience and mistake it for ease, as if you were born with an unshakable will, as if you were gifted something rare and effortless. But what they don't understand, what they will never understand, is that strength isn't granted. It's extracted, forced, ripped from the depths of suffering that would have swallowed anyone else whole. You didn't ask for this. You didn't choose the path of the unbreakable. This path chose you, carved into you, made itself a part of your being through wounds that never quite heal. Every ounce of power you hold came at a price. Every triumph they admire is built on the rubble of battles they didn't see. They call you strong, but they weren't there when the world caved in on you. They weren't there when the betrayals piled up, when the loneliness became unbearable, when you screamed into the void, demanding answers that never came. Strength is romanticized by those who never had to earn it. They see you standing tall and assume it was destiny, but they don't see the nights you shattered in silence, the moments you nearly gave up, the countless times you had to rebuild yourself from the ashes. Every step forward was made with bloodied feet. Every lesson learned was taught through suffering. And yet, here you are. Not because it was easy, not because you had a choice, but because breaking was never an option. The world expects the strong to carry their burdens without complaint, to never falter, never need, never ask for help. They believe people like you don't struggle, don't feel exhaustion creeping in, don't wonder how much more they can take. But here's the truth they'll never say out loud. They depend on you. They count on you to endure, to persist, to survive the storms they could never withstand. And you do, over and over again. But this strength they envy, it isn't just a shield. It's a weapon, a testament to every battle you've won, every force that tried to erase you and failed. They don't understand the cost, and they never will, but they will remember your name. Because strength like yours doesn't fade, it conquers. Number 11. Free yourself through ruthless forgiveness, the secret to breaking their hold. Forgiveness is the weapon they never saw coming. They wanted your anger to consume you. They wanted your pain to keep you chained, replaying the betrayal over and over again like a curse that never lifts. They counted on your wounds becoming your prison, on your rage keeping you shackled to the past. But here's what they never expected. You choosing to let it all go. Forgiveness isn't about excusing them. It's not about erasing what they did or pretending their cruelty was anything less than vile. No, forgiveness is about power, your power. It's about ripping their grip off your mind, your emotions, your future. Every second you spend hating them is another second they still control you. Every moment you replay their lies, their betrayals, their manipulations, you are keeping them alive in your mind. And they don't deserve that space. They don't deserve to live rent-free inside your soul. Radical forgiveness is not a gift to them. It's an act of defiance. It's the moment you declare that their actions will no longer define you. It's breaking free from the weight they wanted you to carry forever. They wanted you bitter. They wanted you broken. They wanted your hate to keep you bound to their story. But the moment you forgive, not to absolve them, but to release yourself, you shatter their illusion of power. Understand this. When you forgive, you rewrite the narrative. You stop being the person who suffered at their hands and become the person who rose despite it. You shift from being their victim to being their greatest nightmare, because nothing haunts those who tried to destroy you more than watching you rise above it untouchable. They expected your wounds to bleed forever, but instead you wear your scars as armor. They wanted to haunt you, but now it's their own reflection that will torment them. Let them carry the weight of what they did. Let them drown in the sickness of their own actions. Your freedom is your revenge. Because when you release the past, you don't just heal, you ascend. And when you rise, you become something they can never reach, something they can never break again. You become unstoppable. Number 12. Turn your pain into power. Why your story is the weapon they fear most. They thought silencing you would be the end of the story, but they underestimated one thing. Your voice was never meant to be quiet. What was done to you wasn't random, and it wasn't just personal. It was part of a deeper sickness that has infected generations, a system built on control, oppression, and fear. The cruelty you faced? It wasn't an accident. It was a tactic, a weapon used to keep you small, to make you doubt your power. But here's the twist. They failed. Because now, your story has become something far more dangerous than they ever imagined. It has become a weapon against the very system that tried to break you. Every scar, every betrayal, every moment they tried to erase you, it has all transformed into proof of their failure. You are still here, and now you hold something they never wanted you to have: influence. When you speak your truth, it doesn't just set you free, it unlocks the chains of others who have suffered in silence, the ones who still believe they are alone, who think their pain is theirs to bear in isolation. But when they hear you, when they see you standing in the fire they were told would consume them, something shifts. Your survival becomes their permission to heal, to rise, to take back what was stolen from them. This is what they fear the most. Not just that you survived, but that you are turning your pain into power. They wanted you to be another forgotten victim, buried beneath the weight of what they did. Instead, you became a force, a movement, a living testament that no amount of cruelty can erase the chosen ones. They tried to bury you, but they didn't realize you were a seed. And now, you are growing into something they cannot stop. This isn't just about you anymore. Your story is bigger than their betrayal, bigger than their attempts to break you. It is a spark, igniting something unstoppable in the hearts of those who refuse to stay silent. And the world, it's watching you rise, watching you shatter the illusion they spent so long creating. And this is where it all comes full circle. They thought they were writing your downfall, but instead they fueled your rise. Every wound became wisdom, every betrayal became a lesson. And now you stand untouchable. The ones who tried to silence you are the ones who will have to watch as your name echoes louder than ever. This is your time. Your story isn't just survival, it's a revolution. If you are ready to step fully into your power, hit like, subscribe, and join this movement. They tried to break us. Now we rise together. The world won't forget you.